So there are two fundamental towers of services that we have. One is managed services and the other is system integration. And the managed services spans across all elements of IT, applications and infra, right? So we do application services, we do data center and cloud services, we do network management services, we do cybersecurity services, we run integrated command center to provide the cybersecurity services on an ongoing basis, in a managed mode. We also provide a lot of applications in a managed mode. So whether it is cybersecurity solutions, whether it is other solutions, we can provide in a SaaS software as a service, hosted from our cloud model. We have more than 300 customers, and if you look at the kind of customers, they are basically the who's who in the enterprise customer list, right? So, some good examples. If I go by industry, South Indian Bank is a recent one that we won, right? FIS Global, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, AB InBev, SBI General Insurance, Future Generali Insurance. We have very, very good customers for managed services, right? And we compete and win against the best in that track. And we do all kinds of complex projects there. We do data center migrations from data center to cloud. We do application migrations. We do hyper-converged cloud setups. For example, we've done that at Life Insurance Corporation. We've done it in the more complex the project, the better we kind of deliver, because we are a company with over 6,000 people across the nook and cranny of India, and we are able to harness resources like nobody else. Outside of these two major towers that we have, we do digital services. So we create responsive portals. We do robotic process automation with Automation Anywhere as the primary partner. We have almost 100 advanced certified resources on robotic process automation with Automation Anywhere. We also do availability services, which is that we can keep data centers and IT equipment working 24/7, across the country all the time, right? And all of these services we can provide, on site. We can provide in a hybrid model or completely from remote, right? Um, Also, we are using the latest technologies like bots, like AI, ML, etc. And we have weaved these technologies into every single one of our offerings, right? So if you look at application services, we don't do it the traditional way. We build self-heal, self-help solutions. We build bots. We build, automated, as we call it, runbook solutions, etc. And we are able to offer those to the customer so that the cost of these services goes down on an ongoing basis year on year. Whereas traditionally the cost goes up because the cost of labor goes up, right? Here, because we are reducing the effort, the cost of labor goes down, and therefore we are able to pass that benefit to the customer, together with a higher agility of operations and lower error rate, right? So that is, in a nutshell, the kind of services we provide to customers. CMS IT services in its current form was born in 2015. Okay, and it was born out of a demerger from a company then called as CMS Info Systems, right, which was a Blackstone owned entity, right? And CMS Info Systems did two primary things. One is IT services, and the second was cash management, which is basically the ATM replenishment, retail chain cash management, etc., right? So what had happened is that Blackstone acquired these entities from CMS Computers in 2008, right? And subsequently, the ATM scenario saw a big boom in India. So Blackstone became almost completely focused, together with the management of CMS Info, on the cash business, right? And the IT business saw very bad days, right? It diminished. It became loss making. The business was then bottom of pyramid, etc. Right? And then in 2013, Blackstone started thinking of exiting and selling off the cash business, and they were to choose whether they should continue with the IT business and invest more, or they should sell that as well, right? So they chose to continue investing in IT, right, and put the focus on IT, and that is when a new management team joined CMS IT Services Private Limited, as the company is now called, right? And we demerged out of CMS Info, and since then we are a complete IT only company. Okay, there were other two divisions also that came, with us in the demerger, which is the print services business as well as the institute business, which was the education business that was there. You would have seen CMS Institute earlier, right? And we have since hived off both of those units, and neither exists as CMS now. So the CMS IT services that you are talking with now is 100% IT services system integration company, focused on business across the country, right? And just to give you a sense of how we've moved since the demerger from CMS Info Systems, our revenues have almost tripled, right? We are a profitable, healthy company. And most importantly, the character of our customers has completely seen a transformation. So, if I had, let's say, a couple of deals that gave me annually 1 crore of rupees, today I have maybe 70 of them, or 80 of them, right? So it's completely transformed, right? And we are hitting deals. For example, ONGC is almost 100 crores for us, one deal, right? So today we are able to execute mega deals. We are able to execute complex deals. We are winning business, very frequently from, so to say, tier one, IBM, DXC, Wipro, etc. Right? And we are looking to accelerate this journey, right? So just to give you a couple of accounts, right? We won Coca-Cola from HP or DXC as it became. We won HDFC Financial Services, which was a 14-year-old Wipro customer, Daimler-Benz, which was a Wipro customer, right? We converted Royal Enfield, Future Generali from IBM, right? So we have wins against pretty much everybody, right? And, we're doing in that front very, very well. Now, coming to the contribution of, various elements to our overall revenue, I'd say that, 70% of our business comes from managed services today, right? 30% of the business comes from the rest of elements, including system integration. Okay, that is the first thing. Secondly, within managed services, the data center services comprise about 45% of the business. So data center cloud network, which is basically all related to the data center, is about 45%, right? Application business is about 10%, right? And the rest of the 45% is basically the end user space, right? So end user managed services across the country, right? So that is the split of the business, right? System integration, it is almost completely in the data center, right? RPA, coming to that conversation, we have almost 100 certified people on Automation Anywhere. And our areas of focus are twofold. One is in the run the business part of an enterprise. We use RPA very well to create efficiencies and agility, right? And on the functional side, we are focused on 2 or 3 areas. One is we have focused on procurement automation, right? Where, we find that the procurement processes, especially with a tool like SAP, are still very, very cumbersome. Just too many steps, too many manual steps, and we are automating that, and we have many use cases there. And we also focus on finance side automation, right? So, auto invoicing, those kind of processes, right? These are 2 clear functional focus areas we have. And from an industry perspective, we focus on, 5 key industries. So one is, of course, BFSI. Then we have automotive, we have life sciences, and we have healthcare. And I think retail is the 5th one. I'm not remembering well, but I think retail is the 5th one, right? So, and we work with, functional consultants that are able to identify bottlenecks in processes, and who in turn work with our technical consultants to be able to roll out, robots or bot workers, to do the jobs, right? So that's a bit on the, RPA piece, right? Uh, from an industry contribution perspective, that is also something that is important. 70% of our business comes from private enterprise, largely large customers. 25% odd comes from PSU enterprises, the Ratnas, the Maharatnas, the uh, large PSUs like ONGC, NTPC, BHEL, SAIL, PGCIL, etc. And the balance 5% comes from government, right? And most of our government also is limited exposure to select state governments, where we do complex projects, on mission mode, rather than trying to do broad-based bidding, anywhere that we want. So, for example, in Assam, we manage the crime and criminal tracking system. We just picked up the order in Mizoram as well for that. We also do very well in the utility business, as we manage many, many utility customers, both in government and private. So in private, for example, we have Adani Power, Reliance, BSES and BYPL, uh, in NCR. We have Torrent Power. We have um, West Bengal Power. We have Assam Power. We have Chhattisgarh Power. Right. We have Gujarat uh, GR, GRVNL, Gujarat Vidyut Nigam. Right? So we have many, many utility accounts. So we are focused on mission mode projects that we can replicate in multiple accounts. Right? So that's a mix of the sectors that we play in. Work from home is here to stay, right? And we will see companies having work from home irrespective, right? And even if the pandemic boils over, right, companies will have the preparedness to shift to work from home or will work in a hybrid on-prem and home model, for a long time to come, right? And fundamentally, that involves shift in, end user computing and security postures, right? And while everybody scrambled and got VPNs in place very quickly, I think the bigger things around employee productivity as well as security, needs working. There are various models, various scenarios. Uh, whether it is a BFSI. So if you look at, let's say, JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or Bank of America, some of these companies don't even allow you to walk in with your phone, right? And many of them didn't allow people to carry laptops home. So today, uh, you have a need to be able to service anywhere from anywhere, right? So, for example, I'm sitting at home, let's say as a service provider, right? And I have to support a customer who's sitting at home, let's say in Calcutta, right? And if there is a issue, I need to be able to figure out how to sort it out, right? There may be an issue on his laptop for all you know, right? And today we have technologies which harness conversational bots and other bots that allows this, right? Where I have queuing technology that can move a call, right, basis which customer, what problem, what location, etc., to the right person sitting at home and available, right? And he or she can then solve that problem. And if he or she is unable to solve the problem and it needs a visit, my field engineering team from Calcutta can make a visit and go and solve the problem at home, right? So it's a very, very holistic end-to-end solution that we put in place, and it can just work on bot technologies, right? Out of your MS Teams, you can start using the bot and work with our solution set, right? So that's one area where things have happened. The other is that the market will see an acceleration to cloud, right? And unfortunately, if you look at the India context, the movement to cloud was very limited outside of the startup ecosystem. So when you look at the unicorns, whether it is Amazon or Myntra or Flipkart or whichever of these companies, they were using the cloud, uh, amazingly well, right? They were born in the cloud companies, right? Whereas the traditional enterprise is still taken very tepid steps only to move to the cloud, right? And this scenario will make them to rethink, right? And I expect to see acceleration of movement to cloud, right? So that is the second area, right? The third area is, of course, security will see a huge spin, right? How do we secure ourselves in a scenario where there are multiple clouds, people working from wherever, how do we monitor security? How do we intervene? That will see a significant investment. And the other area is resilience in BCP, right? So suddenly, even if I had a DC and DR, uh, DC sitting in, let's say, Mumbai and a DR sitting in Hyderabad, right? I still couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to the Bombay DC, and I couldn't go to the Hyderabad DR, right? So BCP and resiliency have now a very different meaning, right? If you look at BCP audits as well as drills, right? DR drills, for example, you are absolutely bang on that they left a lot to be desired, right? And companies are revisiting that, right? And again, some companies won't care, because they don't have that paranoia about DCDR, right? But some companies will start to figure out, the need to or start pushing the work to making automated BCP DR as, and also define very strong policies for that, right? So, because we are a managed services company, we constantly do DR drills, right? And very often, like not like a fire drill, we know in advance that a DR drill has to happen, and we prep 3 days in advance, and therefore, things are almost hunky dory always, right? But that's not going to be, the case anymore, and you will see the emergence of tools like Sanofi and Perpetuity and others, that will push the envelope in terms of, automating some of these things. Impact of COVID started becoming visible to, businesses. Uh, Everybody scrambled and, started asking for discounts. There are companies that aren't as deeply impacted, right? They are also asking, right? And they're also pushing hard. Okay, and the standard assumption is that there is no impact to us. We are absolutely hunky dory, so we have too much of money to give away, right? So uh, I think we went through an exercise where we were very flexible with customers, right? Every one of them who came to us, we very clearly drew out a map as to this is what can be done, this is what will be the impact of doing what we're doing, right? This is the short-term gain, this is the short-term loss, long-term gain, long-term loss. And fundamentally, we have, to my mind, done a very, very effective job of almost securing and keeping all our customers. Of course, we have made some concessions here and there, for the right reasons, right? So, for example, if our office is completely shut down, right, for just too long, and there is nobody going, then we have taken, time and, let's say, with a little bit of a notice period, tried to move our resources to alternate projects, right? So that the customer doesn't continue paying for somebody who's just not going to be used, for months at a go. And customers also have been, I think, fairly open and fairly understanding in most times that they have not tried to do crazy things, right? So that was the first thing. From an SLA perspective, actually there have been surprising revelations. One is that if you typically look at um, you know the whole problems because of a campus network are almost gone because there's nobody in campus, right? So if I was handling, let's say, 100 calls, and of that, let's say 30 calls, were for my wireless router is not working, I'm not able to connect, right? Because I had an engineer available at beck and call. Suddenly that call is not coming my way, right? And the user knows that if there is a network issue, it is very likely at his home because the service provider is, not as good, right? So the call is shifted away, right, from a category to another category, right? The difficulty now is people on either side, either the engineer or the user side, communication has started to matter a lot more, right? How does a user explain a problem? How does a engineer understand a problem? And we have done a lot of things to enhance the understanding ability of the engineer, right? So we have a lot of automation tools available by which very often a customer need not tell us what is the issue, we'll figure it out, right? So So that has really helped us manage and deliver the SLAs that we were delivering in most cases, right? We have almost not seen a case of SLA dilution in any of our accounts. Okay, a data center, anyways, it doesn't matter because it is a small group of people they are accessing. Whether you access it from within the data center or from outside, there should be no impact to SLA, right? And there isn't, right? So the bigger area of SLA impact is end user services, and there because of automation, we've been able to completely minimize the impact on our side, right? However, there is an impact on an overall basis from a customer perspective because the user doesn't know what to do, right? For example, even getting on and giving control to engineer may not be easy for some, right? So people also will have a steep learning curve in trying to handle this because the lockdown started in end of March, and March typically is the biggest month of the year. We saw erosion of order book, right? And the erosion was not just orders moving from Q4 to Q1, right? Many of those orders disappeared because the customer chose to do nothing because there was so much to do, um, in their own environments. Why do something new and have a bigger headache, right, in difficult times? So that quarter hit us quite a bit. Fortunately for us, our Q1 was very good, and we turned in some very, very good contracts, more so on the PSU side that were in the works for a while, right? And I must say that the current quarter looks as good as things were before, before the pandemic. So, I did my morning review call today, right, 9 to 11 weekly call, and the numbers that are coming in are very good. Right. So fundamentally, I'd say that while the initial reaction was to hold customers, and we worked very hard and did that, cross-sell and upsell is a big theme that we are running, right? But today we believe that because of our strengths and because unlike a lot of other companies, we don't outsource almost all the services that we pick up, right? We don't outsource the execution; we do it ourselves. Uh, we have benefited in different ways. One is our attrition is almost negligible right now, right? As against a very high attrition in the field engineering area, right? So programs have become much steadier in that sense, right? The second thing that has happened is that there is a need for people to look at costs, and many of the biggies are unwilling to look at it, right? So people have turned to us, and it fits our overhead structures, it fits our business direction, and that's getting us more business, right? So we've closed, for example, a couple of very large banks, as managed services customers in the last 3 weeks, right? And very unusual actually in these times, right? So this quarter looks very good actually, surprisingly. So there is still, from my perspective, a long-term impact that will happen. Uh, there is a lot of churn that is happening in the market, and therefore there will be a churn that will happen for providers, right? So Bharti AXA got sold to ICICI Lombard, Apollo Munich got sold to HDFC Ergo, right? So many of these, M&As are happening. Some companies are going bust, right? There will be a pressure on smaller enterprises, right? All of this will cause some disruption, and uh, we have to watch this holiday quarter OND very carefully because it will tell us a lot. I think that customers are still not settled on being able to execute deals remotely, right? It is not going to be an easy transition, and rightfully so, right? In this business, or for that matter, in any business where especially services are involved, people like to look, leader from the supplier side in the eye and gain a certain trust, right? And it is difficult to do it, on a Zoom call, etc., right? Uh, Eventually, people will do it because there is no option, right? But it is not easy. The transition will take time, And very often, wherever we've closed, we've also seen that towards the end, we've had one meeting, right? In a secure way, right? In a safe way, right? So, for example, banks are essential services; they are open, right? So, we would have towards the end a visit or two, right, to kind of conclude. Right? So, it's a hybrid, um, engagement, on-prem plus, work from home that is working right now. People will get a little more comfortable over time, but right now they aren't. Is the honest answer. So that's the first part. The second part is, how do we get our business right, and why do we get, the business we are getting? I think there are three or four reasons that differentiate us. First is that we have the delivery ability of a large enterprise with 6,500 people across the country, right? Uh, and we have the ability to personalize, for an entity, right, that a large company can't do. So a small company doesn't have the delivery expertise. A large company doesn't have the ability to personalize, whereas we very nicely combine both of them, right? Uh, we have created an extremely flat hierarchy, so the customer engages with accomplished people, on the other side, and that obviously keeps projects running well, right? So that is, on the ability to deliver and personalize, right? That is one thing. Two is we are extremely sharply focused on the India geography, right? So, people know very clearly that nowhere else to go because I'm getting dollar business from US today. US is more attractive. Tomorrow, that squeezes there in India becomes attractive. That is not the case with us. We are very, very focused on the India market, right? And our cost structures, our people are all aware about that, right? Because you can work with a lot more slack, and at times the breadth of skills that are needed in India are much higher because you can't afford 50 people to do a job, with our commercials, right? So we are very tuned to the India market. That is the second thing, right? The third thing is that um, our offerings also are in tune for the India market, right? We have not created, a set that is very, um, for example, IoT. We did not go whole hog into IoT simply because there was a lot of experimentation going on in India, but lot less adoption. I think it will take a little time for adoption, right? So we are waiting for the time. So we are sharply focusing on things that customers want to do, right? Which is the next thing. And another very critical piece is that we tend not to outsource our business, right? So many of the others, when they get business, they will outsource parts of it to many different companies and have a program management team that basically delivers the project for them, right? We don't tend to do that. We work with our own people, and that provides a consistency of delivery, right? People, work within the same framework across geographies, across locations, right? They have, similar concepts about the hierarchy. They come through the same hiring engine, etc. Right? They work in the same culture. So these things become important when you want to execute predictably, right? And customers who work with us barely change. So um, I'd say that we have a retention rate of more than 97%. Of course, you will lose some tenders because now the tenure is over. It's a fresh tender. You are not L1 in the fresh tender. You lose, right? That's a government play. But private enterprise, almost no churn. When I said that 70% of our business comes from managed services and from within that, 45% coming in from the data center and cloud and network side, it doesn't mean that that business is only the traditional business, right? So we are doing software defined everything now. We are doing that management. We are doing public cloud management. All of that, right? So the internal concept that we have is we have a certain set of services that we call volume services, right? And there are a certain set of services that we call value services. And our aim is to keep growing the value services, right? Year on year, right? So if I were, I was almost 100% volume services 6 years ago, right? This is the definition of volume we have today, right? And today, if I look at it, about 40-45% of our business is value business. Okay, so we are going higher in the services pyramid on a regular basis, right? We're doing more and more higher plane thing, automating at the bottom level, etc. Right. Second thing is that we have designed an organization with a very wide, base of the pyramid, right? So that the cost structures are in line with what we do, right? Because you don't want to be doing everything everywhere for everybody, right? And stretching yourself or spreading yourself too thin. The construct of the pyramid that we have is designed to the kind of services that we do and deliver, for the market we deliver it to. The third point I'd want to make there is that, if you look at how we try to go about things, we don't try to do 1,000 things, right, uniquely for everybody. We try to evolve themes or plays that, we do uniquely for somebody and then replicate that across multiple customers, right? Because that creates a higher stability, a higher probability of success, right? Now, some of these things make it effective for us. This is a business. IT as a whole is a business now where there is a lot of commoditized components, and we need to have that journey on a daily basis where we look at shifting and doing more value, more margin accretive business, on a daily basis.